In 1983, Ricky married Beverly. These are her formal pictures, and there's that good-looking guy. That's me with my dark hair. And there's Beverly holding Ariel, and there's a picture of Ariel by herself. And here they're cutting the cake before they left. This is 1987. This is Louise's wedding picture. And there, Louise and Ricky are standing next to my mother. And there we are dancing, Louise and me dancing, and I'm having a great time. And there they're standing over the table with Larry and Susie, and this is their wedding cake cutting. This time it was around 1962, I guess. Harry Goldblum, my brother-in-law, who married Harriet, which was Lillian's sister, was in the hardware business, and he wanted to go in business for himself. However, he didn't have enough money, so he came to me, and like I had it, and he said that he and I should go in business, and we would be equal partners if I came up with $10,000. Well, he might as well ask me for $100,000 because I didn't know what 10,000 looked like. However, again, I went back to my brother and I told him the story, and he said, well, we can get the $10,000 by refinancing your house on Wyoming Avenue that I had bought from my father a few years back. And sure in heck, they gave me $10,000. I went in business and we started Quaker Wholesale. The salesman from this New York company joined us. Murray Kay was his name. And the three of us started Quaker Wholesale. And Murray was a salesman, and he took me out to sell hardware. Murray was a hotshot salesman, and I could no more do what he did in a million years. And naturally, I was tongue-tied and I couldn't sell anything. However, little by little, I learned, and one of the gimmicks that I had, and it worked very fine, I had gone to lumber yards, and that's who we sold, mostly lumber yards. And I would go there and show my wares, and they would say, look, we don't need another salesman. We're happy with what we have. About the second or third trip, I went back. Instead of trying to sell hardware, I took my camera and said, I would like to take your picture for our records. Everybody said, no, 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 but nobody turned me down. And the owner would go in the back and put on his jacket, because they wore jackets in those days, and I would take his picture. Naturally, the picture came out good, and the following week I'd bring the picture back. They'd look at it and they'd say, hey, that's pretty good. Can I get an extra one? I'd say, certainly. And then they would say, well, let's see what we can buy. And that's what started. I opened up a lot of lumber yards that way. This was our original business card. We went to a trade show in Atlantic City, and again, I used my camera as a gimmick to take the pictures. And when I went to visit the people in their own locations, I sold them hardware. These are some of the pictures that we took at the show. That's Harry talking to Mel Sporkin at one of our trade shows. Here's Steve Noble, one of our salesmen, is talking to some of his customers, and that's Eli Fado there, one of our factory reps. That's Al Goldenberg and Carol. And there's Harry, my partner. We outgrew Greenwood Avenue, and we moved into a new warehouse on Philmont Avenue in Huntington Valley. It was a big place, and we sublet half of it out to another hardware. Things were going great, and we expanded the business, and we had the opportunity to buy a plumbing supply house out who was going bankrupt. We bought the company and the salesman, and we took on plumbing, and it was my job to sell plumbing to the lumber yards. It was quite easy because it was a new thing, and the lumber yards were doing a lot of do-it-yourself, and the plumbing suppliers were making all kinds of carded merchandise. We decided to go into the locksmith business, and we hired a handsome guy, Al Goldenberg, from another company, and he helped us set up a locksmith division. We were the largest quickset supplier in Pennsylvania, and we carried all kind of lock hardware. However, with Al, he had it in with the locksmiths, and we advertised in the locksmith ledger because we had plenty of advertising money from Quickset, and we used to advertise a full page. This was Al Goldenberg, who ran our locksmith division. We called him Big Al, but he actually was a little short fella. We decided that we would like to sell the business, and we advertised and we got a few people interested. We finally sold it to a fellow named Vic, I forget his last name, and his brother-in-law, and they were from New York. They came up with the money, and they gave me a $25,000 deposit, and we sold the business for $1 million. However, 3 months after they were there, they took it down the tube, and they bought a lot of material from our suppliers who we had good credit with, and then they discounted the stuff out the back door. And in 3 months, as I said, they went busted. My car, which was a Volvo station wagon, a new one, was in Quaker's name. And inasmuch as they had the keys, one day I was there in the office, and they actually took the car away from me without me knowing it. They had a set of keys, and they just drove the car off the lot. And that was the last I saw of the car. After Quaker went busted, I joined Al in the real estate business, and I helped him with the maintenance. And I took over for Lou McGarrow, who had been with Al for about 35 years. Little by little, I bought a few pieces of property with Al, and the first one I bought was on Cottage Street, 4910 Cottage Street. And then the one next door had a fire, and we bought that one. And then little by little, I bought a few extras. And Al helped me get started. He would lay out the money, and then from the income, I would pay back the money, and we were full partners. This went on for a while. Then Al retired, and Lou Einstein took over. First Ricky Kaytes wanted to get into the real estate business, and I sold him 234 East Wyoming Avenue and 234 East Wyoming, 232 and 234 East Wyoming Avenue. He had some money, he gave me a deposit, and I carried a mortgage that he paid off in about 6-7 years. David Kaytes wanted to get into the business, but he had no money, so I gave him the houses, and he paid me with the income from the houses. Unfortunately, he had trouble with Terry. He was going through a divorce, and she cleaned them out. Ricky Kaplan one day get into the business, and I sold him a block of houses, and again I took back the mortgage. And then later in life, David Jack wanted to get into the business, and I sold him a couple of houses, and I took care of them for him until he took over. And he started, and then later on he bought more houses from Lou Einstein, who had taken over the business from my brother Al.